All right, everybody, you know what time it is. The Real Talk Sports Saturday update is coming up right now. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we thank God, as always, for all those of you who have turned in to the broadcast this morning. Appreciate you as we broadcast to you from the offices of our title sponsor of high school football and my employer, full-time employer, Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. Remember, guys, you can check them out in a couple of ways. Number one, you can give me a call, 678-364-3979, for anything that you need. Now, here's the cool thing. Even on the commercial account manager, I actually can sell all types of vehicles. So we got new Fords, new Lincolns, used vehicles of any type. We just got in like a couple of Mercedes. We got a Maseratis. We got some Toyotas in. We got some Beamers. So whatever your flavor is, you need a vehicle, just contact me, your man, Jonathan Simmons, 678-364-3979. Or the other thing too is you want to get a peek at our inventory, you can shop Allen Vigil Ford 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net. And again, many kudos and shout outs to Mr. Vigil for allowing us to do our sports update here live right from the offices of Allen Vigil Ford. Well, the weekend of pro football, I should say, pro football is in full swing. We had the annual Hall of Fame game. You got that. That's there. You also have the preseason that started, and I'm on the good foot. Many of those of you know that we picked the Falcons this year to at least win 10 games and go to the playoffs, possibly win even 11 or 12 games. And they won last night 19-3. Before I go any further, I want to give a big shout out to my cousin, Freddie Simmons, back in Connecticut, where we originally hailed from. Cuz, appreciate you for logging on here on Facebook and joining us here. And speaking of that, for those of you who are listening on WIGO, if you want to see my smiling face here in the office, you can log on to Facebook, go to the Real Talk Sports page. You'll find us broadcasting there. Also, go to our YouTube page. It's even better. Go to our YouTube page, check us out there. And while you're on the YouTube page, which is Real Talk Sports TV, please, man, please, sir, subscribe to our channel. We are trying to reach that magic number of what's the magic number? Magic number of 1,000 subscribers. We want to reach that. So if you guys could certainly do that for us, we would greatly appreciate it. So yeah, YouTube, Real Talk Sports TV, anywhere on social media at Real Talk Sports, the number 7. So please check us out and get on there and subscribe. And here's the cool thing: we're big into these new things now called the YouTube Shorts. So it's all kind of little clips of me all over the place. You know, because a lot of people don't know, we cover well, not all sports. We cover a variety of sports. We cover tennis. We even covered beach volleyball last week. We cover some golf from time to time. We cover, of course, high school sports, high school football is big for us. We cover some college football with Georgia Tech. I know this is SEC nation, but you know, Georgia oftentimes only lets the big boys in. But I think we might do some stuff with Georgia this year. Also, we do pro basketball with the Atlanta Hawks. And that's another team I think is going to ball out this year. So keep your eye on Atlanta Hawks and keep your eye out on young Mr. Trey Young, who's I think going to have a monster season this year coming up, because I think he wants to prove to people once and for all he is a bona fide all-star. Well, in case you guys were asleep last night, Falcons win. Yeah, that's 19-3. I know it says exclamation point. I guess I was so excited about them winning the game last night. But yeah, Falcons win, and the defense looked stellar. They used a bend but not break philosophy to get the victory. And the big thing is they were all about making the big plays. They really were just the opposite of what we saw with the Falcons last year, and even with Falcons teams that we've seen over the last couple of years. Defense was able to make the big plays when they had to, and then more importantly, they were able to get turnovers and get the quarterback on the ground. That's right. The Falcons were able to get the quarterback on the ground last night, which was really, really, really big for them. And I'm going to take a look at the stats in just a moment here. And again, just a reminder for those of you who are listening to us or trying to listen to us, here's where we're at. We are on. I know I can speak slower and speak the King's English. We are on the legendary WIGO Pacesetter 1570 AM on your dial. You also can find us broadcasting to you audibly online at WIGO 1570.com. So again, if you are tuning in to listen, the way you want to do it is go to WIGO 1570 on your dial, or in fact, you can go to WIGO1570.com. The other cool thing is you also can go on to an app. There's an app you can download it. It's a free app. It's called TuneIn Radio. Go to the TuneIn app. It is, again, a free application. Download it. Put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. The other thing we look to bring to you sometime in this broadcast here is our good friends, Jonesboro High School. You know, you guys know that we are, or you may not know, we are the official live stream broadcasting system for Clayton County football at Terrace Stadium. And that's the home stadium of Jonesboro High School, also of Mount Zion High School. So we ask you to please, when you can, check us out there. Come on out and support the high school teams. If you're in the Atlanta area, come on and do that. Tickets are very reasonable, only $7. No bad seat in the house, obviously. So come on down and support us, and also support our broadcast if you could, because here's the cool thing. During football season, high school football season, if you in fact are a sponsor of our broadcast, we actually give a portion of the proceeds back to the high schools. And this year we're going to do something brand spanking new. So all for this is for all high schools, but especially in Clayton County. If you got a highlight, you know, something that you said, man, it's on and popping, we're going to have the top five. That's right. The Real Talk Sports top five highlights each and every week from high school football will be on the L. So if you got something, here's how you do it. Send us an email of that clip to Simmons at realtalksports.net, or you also can text it to me at 678-410-9833. Love to get you guys on there. But yeah, for high school football, we're going to have the Real Talk Sports top five. Top five highlights, and we're going to pick them out. We're going to add them onto our YouTube page. We're going to put them on our social media. And for the number one of the top five, we're going to have a little something for you. All right, so there it is. Send me an email, Simmons at realtalksports.net, or text me 678-410-9833. All right, let's get back to it, guys. Like I said, Falcons last night looked good. Looked good, especially defensively. Offensively, kind of stop and go a little bit, but defensively, Falcons look really, really good. 19-3 victory over the Miami Dolphins, and it was, I get again mentioned, spurred by the defense. Multiple big stops, 2 goal line stands, and again, this Falcon team looked more like what we need to see during the regular season. Now, again, keep in mind these are backups against backups, but that's a good sign because these guys are evenly matched. So it looks like our backups again kind of have an understanding on what to do and how to do it. Like I said, they gave up 317 yards of total offense, 149 on the ground. Excuse me, 149 in the air, 168 on the ground. They did have a little bit of a problem stopping the Miami ground attack, but it did not matter because they made the stops when they absolutely had to. And they did something we had not seen for a long time. They got some sacks. Not one, not three, but five sacks for the Atlanta Falcons last night. And they came from all over the place. They came from the defensive line. They came from our linebackers, or quote unquote edge rushers. I mean, also, we got a surprise. It does appear, again, it's early, that we got a little spark plug. Mr. Clifford Chapman. I heard his name repeatedly last night during the broadcast. This guy balled out last night. He's a little scrawny guy, from what I understand. I can't call anybody a pro football player scrawny, really. But at the end of the day, I think he measures out all of 5'11" and about a buck 75 soaking wet. But this guy was like the Tasmanian devil. Came off the line on a DB blitz, got the quarterback right down to the ground, made some great stops in terms of tackles for losses. He also was decent in terms of defending against the pass. So Clifford Chapman, look for that name to possibly be a surprise addition to the Falcons 50, I guess it's 59-man roster for 2023. Other guys that stood out for us, DeMarco Helms, 5 tackles overall with 2 assists, a big interception in the second half. That's a guy that the Falcons expect to be an impact player. Another guy that had a big night last night, a guy we already know about because he balled out last year, D. Alford, doing what he normally does in terms of the defensive, as a defensive back, had a nice pass breakup in the red zone. And then to top it off, took one to the house on a punt return to put the game out of reach for the Dolphins. Again, Falcons win 19-3, relying very much on the defense and showing you that they're still going to do what they're going to do, which is to basically run the ball and then get the occasional deep strike downfield. And what do I mean by that? So they basically pounded away. They had the big back was Godwin Igwebuike. I think I was pronouncing that right. He did what most Falcons running backs do, average about 5 yards per carry, and also picked up a touchdown. He scoring the first touchdown of the game. 13 carries, 70 yards, 5.5 yards a carry average. Carlos Washington was kind of the plug. 12 carries, 27 yards. That's only 2.2 yards per carry average, but it doesn't matter. Igwebuike was our guy, and he did, like I said, what you expect out of the Falcons running attack, just over 5 yards per carry and making it do what it do. Logan Woodside, the quarterback position, 14 of 23, 145. But what we need from the QB positions, no turnovers. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but the big thing, they did not turn the ball over. And when needed, he did carry the ball one time, picked up 5 yards, and I believe a first down. Xavier Malone was our guy at the wide receiver position, 2 receptions for 50 yards, a nifty 25 yards per catch. JJ Whiteside, he had a single catch, but again for 20 yards. And Carlos Washington out of the backfield, although he didn't run that well as far as picking up yardage, did have 3 receptions for 19 yards. So what we saw kind of a little glimpse of what we're going to expect from the Falcons in the 2023 season, which is run the ball, play action fake for mid to deep range strikes, and then get that ball in the end zone when you're in the red zone. They did kind of mess up on one. They did turn the ball over in downs on one foray down there. But overall, like I said, again, considering these are the backups, we're getting a glimpse of what we expect out of this Falcon team. Hard hitting, running the ball, opportunistic, and getting the quarterback on the ground. Again, I know it's only preseason, guy. I don't want to overhype this thing, but 5 sacks. When's the last time we've watched the Falcons defense get 5 sacks? And more importantly, they came from all over the place. They didn't just come from, one guy, like a Grady Jarrett. We did a couple of sacks in the game. It was spread out. Like I said, Chapman as on a DB safety type blitz, he had one. Natron Brooks, he had one. Arnold Ekatebe, we expect him to do some big things. He had one. And you had a couple of split sacks by, let me make sure I got the guy's name right. Oh, excuse me. You also had a sack from Nate Landman, and you had a combo sack from Albert Higgins, and from Mike Jones Jr. So 5 sacks total for this Falcons defense, opportunistic, goal line stand, and kept Miami out of the end zone, even though Miami, like I said, was moving the ball very, very well. Miami looked like the old Falcons, great in between the 20s, terrible in the red zone. Like I said, again, that was because the Falcons defense did what they had to do, being very opportunistic to get the victory. So Falcons start off the football season of 2023-2024 with a nice 19-3 victory over the Miami Dolphins. Again, we don't want to read too much into this, but we don't want to take away the fact that winning breeds winning. You know, this idea of preseason doesn't count, and we know that teams have done very well in preseason from time to time and not had a good offseason. But this Falcon team, I think, needs to get in the habit of winning. They need to get into the mindset of the type of play that they're going to do, which is evidently physicality, in your face, man to man defense, uh, of course, the ground attack, and then being able to make the big plays when needed and get the big stops when needed. So, again, good to see it. And it was pretty cool to also see the reaction of the few Miami fans that were there. They seemed to be very enthralled with our Falcons. And I think you're going to see this as this team begins to uh, win. And of course, when you win, you get national notoriety. This is a very likable team. A lot of good stories on this team. A lot of guys that have had to kind of come up the hard way. A lot of unsung personnel. A lot of not necessarily super glamorous players. Of course, we have the number 4 pick overall from a couple of years ago in Kyle Pitts. And certainly we have a guy that everybody's heralded as a once in a generational running back in Bijan Robinson this year. But if you think about it, this Falcon team is not littered with a lot of named superstar. They're not littered with any, kind of consensus top 3 pick in the draft on this team. And so, like I say again, you have a lot of guys that playing with chips on their shoulders. A lot of guys, even the head coach, although he is, of course, the son of FedEx founder, he still he has an attitude of having a chip, not because he's came up hard scrabble or poor, but because a lot of people have basically insinuated that he is where he is only because his dad is the president of FedEx. And I think that, and the fact that when he was in school, he was a lineman, an offensive lineman. He has a chip on his shoulder. He has a toughness that I think is inbred in him, and I think that all of that is going to make big dividends for the Falcons. And last but not least, Falcons fans, Arthur Blank did the same thing in the preseason camp that he did a couple of years ago, right before the Falcons made their phenomenal run to Super Bowl in 2016. He said, "I got high expectations," and basically laid down the gauntlet that this team better perform. And I think that all those things bode well for the Falcons to, again, be a team of impact in 2023, 2024. So, again, Falcons win 19-3. We don't want to go crazy, but again, we don't want to diminish the fact that this is, it showed some flashes of what could be and what I think will be in the 2023-2024 season. Well, I want to just skip away from football for just a second. Oh, no, 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 hang on. Let me do this. In the sports update, we hope to have at some time in our broadcast the high school football, either one of the coaches or a couple of players from Jonesboro High School. As you guys know, that we do high school football here in Clayton County, and Jonesboro is one of the 2 schools that play at home at the stadium that we broadcast from. And their fans and their folks have been great supporters of our program. And certainly we want to give them a shout out. We could not be there in person, but hopefully, again, they will be able to pop in and join us here as they do their own media day right here in Clayton County. So, again, hopefully we'll get the folks from Jonesboro on. The Jonesboro Cardinals. And the other thing, too, is they have a tremendous marching band. It's over 100 members strong. They are nationally known. As a matter of fact, they will be heading out, I think, to the Macy's Parade in Thanksgiving. They've done bowl games. They were in the Battle of the Bands last year at Jackson State when Coach Prime was on the scene. So, again, also big shout out to the Jonesboro Mighty Marching Cardinals as we try to give a shout out to these schools. Last but not least, we want to shout out your school as well. If you, in fact, got some great stuff going on, I always tell people this each and every week to remind you, please send me an email, jsimmons@realtalksports.net, or in fact, text me or call me 678-410-9833. We would love to promote what you're doing, or tell your story, especially if you have a coach or player that not only is excelling on the field, but excelling off the field. We want to tell those stories. That's why our tagline is Sports Talk with Perspective. Perspective is that of the good news of sports and not just the bad news only. So again, hit us up there, jsimmons@realtalksports.net or 678-410-9833 if you have a compelling story that you think that we should be talking about on our show. Well, I was grabbed by one of my fellow employees. He is a big football or soccer aficionado. And he said, "Hey, man, did you hear about the big win last night by Miami Intercontinental?" Now, for those of you who are not familiar with football or what they call soccer here in the U.S. and in most Western countries, um, it is big around the world. It's number one sport around the world. And what has happened here in Major League Soccer is that we have now gotten the number one, or at least one of the top three players in the world is now, in fact, here playing in MLS. And the other night, Miami Intercontinental is did what they had to do. They posted up a 4-1 victory. Let me make sure I got the stats correct about Miami Intercontinental. And I'm gonna have a question here um, for Falcons fans, Atlanta United fans, just a second. So it's actually Inter Miami Continental Football Team. Sorry, I got that backwards. And but what I don't have backwards is the fact that they have the legendary Lionel Messi is on this team, and he has been as advertised. He has energized this Inter Miami team. They are now must see TV. They are must see in person. Every place that they will play for the remainder of the MLS season has, in fact, been sold out. Here in Atlanta, um, they actually had to put up a post on their website saying, "Hey, we are sold out, and the tickets that are available may, in fact, be well over market, well over um, original pricing due to market conditions." That's what they're telling you. Scalpers delight. Tickets that normally would be around $40 or $50, I think, are selling close to $400 or $500. And why? Because Mr. Messi has brought his prodigious talents to MLS, and he has been must-see TV. In 5 matches, he has 8 goals and an assist. So he's lighting them up. And you know, this is what MLS wanted, and this is what MLS needed. They needed a world-class player to come here and to be able to bring his firepower, his star power to this league. And like I said, Messi is not disappointed. 5 games, 8 goals and assists, and in those 5 games, Intercontinental Miami is 5-0. And so now it looks like Intercontinental Miami is now the it club for soccer in the U.S., supplanting Atlanta United. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't want to take away from any of the MLS teams who have won titles here, but I don't think any of them had the glamour or the cachet of the Atlanta United team. Why? Because Atlanta United played in probably one of the greatest stadiums in the world, Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta, and they were playing a brand of soccer which really was attractive to American viewers, and they were setting attendance records like no tomorrow. This was a team that was averaging in excess of 70,000 fans per game. In a country that had not previously been big in terms of aficionados or followers of the sport. And of course, when they won the title, and the way they won it with slick passing, exciting offense, guys that had come in and did great things. Until they got Josef Martinez, who I believe now is on Inter Miami. this team was it was exciting. I mean, even if you weren't a soccer fan, just to come and watch them play because again, the rush is on goal. But I think Miami, their team is now the it team because again, they have the great one, Lionel Messi, and he lightened it up so far in his early days of MLS. So that was our sports update from soccer. Keep your eye on the Inter Miami team and look forward for them to be making some noise in soccer for the rest of the year. And the only question is now here locally is can Atlanta United keep pace, pick up their game, and really I think would be epic if somehow Miami and Atlanta played in postseason. I think, man, the place, all of American professional soccer would go bananas, but that's another story. So that's our update there from soccer as well. Now, another thing that's going on here in Atlanta is baseball excellence. The Atlanta Braves continue to lead the league by a big margin as far as number of games. But the question is there some chinks in the armor? The Braves have not looked that well since the All-Star break. This team has been struggling along right at 500, and they've had some big problems with their starting pitching. Big problem. But thankfully for the Braves, they have one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball, if not the best. They lead the league in homers and amongst the top three in terms of batting average. So as Brave teams, man, they are just, I mean, they just continue to roll. And last night, they win again. This time, they win against, I don't say they're arch rivals, but the team that many Atlantans don't like is the New York Metropolitans. The Braves crushed the Mets last night by a final score of 7-0 and a shutout. Austin Riley, a guy who last year was an MVP candidate, continues to roll on his hot streak. Hitting a big blast, his 27th homer of the season in the top of the seventh, as again the Braves cruise over the Metropolitans 7-0. And it's so crazy, man. People were going bananas. Oh my gosh, the Braves this, the Braves that. Like I said, don't get me wrong, they had been struggling. Since the All-Star break, they've been mediocre. And one of their key pitchers who pitched last night and got the shutout, Charlie Morton, had looked terrible. His last four starts, the guy was terrible. Terrible. But at the end of the day, the Braves keep on. Now, I will say this. For the first time in over a month, the gap between them and the second place teams has closed to under double digits. The red-hot Philadelphia Phillies, who have won 7 of their last 10, have now, in fact, picked up the pace and find themselves now 9.5 games behind the Braves, where at one point they were, I think, 11.5 games back. So they have now chipped into the Braves lead by just a little bit, single digits for the first time in over a month. But the Braves right the ship last night against the Mets, winning 7-0. And that team just had a fire sale. They are 9 games under 500, actually 11 games under 500, before dumping off the salaries of 2 future Hall of Famers and Max Scherzer, and also in, I can't think of the other pitcher's name. I went back to the Astros, but anyway, Mets 21.5 games back. One of the, I don't say one of the worst teams, but yeah, kind of one of the worst teams in the NL. So the Braves will try to get fat on them and to increase their lead. But last night, they finally get back in the winning column, winning 7-0, pitching a shutout. Charlie Morton getting the win. 7 walks, but who cares? No runs. And the Braves bats once again do what they do, scoring in excess of 5 runs. I think it's I want to say maybe the 100th time this year they've done that. I'm not exactly sure on that, but yeah, man, Braves win 7-0 and continue to roll on. Hey, we're going to do this, guys. We're going to take a quick break and let you hear a little bit from our title sponsor, Allen Vigil Ford, which, remember, if you need a car, come see me here at the dealership, and we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our #1 priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm Aria, the first AI presenter for Real Talk Sports. We want to get your feedback about my participations in the show, so please leave comments. So stay tuned. The Real Talk Sports Show is
A little test with AI. We've been working on that. We're going to probably play around with that more and more as we get a hold of this technology, which is going to be sweeping the world. Matter of fact, not will be, is sweeping the world. And we want to be a part of the cutting edge of that and bring it to you. So we look for you guys to have some feedback. Well, guys, as you can see, joining me here on the broadcast is our producer from back in the studio. One of our favorite gals, the lovely Lady E, is back in the building. What's going on?
Hey, Jonathan, you got it. I'm just looking forward to what today is for me, and that is a peaceful and flowing day, I'll say. But hey, anyway, I had to beam in because I am a Falcons fan. I know you covered it, but man, they looked good last night. So I hope that is the beginning of what we're going to see for the rest of the season. You know?
Yeah, so yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, they've kind of really checked off all the boxes of what we really have been looking for Falcons teams really since they went to Super Bowl. That is a offense that does not turn the ball over,
Right.
um, a defense that turns the other team over, but more
Yes.
importantly, a defense that puts the quarterback on the ground.
Oh, yes.
5 sacks for the Falcons last
Yes.
night. And they
Loved
came
it.
they came from everywhere. They came from our edge rusher, the kid we drafted just a few years ago, Arnold Egatabi. It
Mhm.
came from this little mighty might, Derek Chapman, guy come out of nowhere, 3 tackles, had a huge breakup of a pass, and more importantly, got a sack at all of 175 pounds. Little scrawny guy, but not so
Right.
scrawny because he put the quarterback on the ground.
Yes, that was amazing. And I was loving that 79-yard punt return
D.
into the
Alford,
end zone. Yeah. Woo.
yeah,
Very nice.
an unsung guy, a guy that I think can really be an impact player, especially being that nickel slot. And now apparently from time to time punt returns. Now, and I will say this: don't expect him to return too many because we still got number 84, Mr. Cordarrelle Patterson,
That's
and
right.
he's certainly the guy was saying that. But good to know that in the fact with D. Alford, in the fact that we now have a similar style of player at running back in Bijan Robertson, how much better is Cordarrelle's going to be, especially late in the season, without the wear and tear on his body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Whew. All
look
we
forward
can
to.
do is pray on that.
Yeah, and obviously we have no prediction. I mean, a guy can come
Yeah.
in one play, get hurt, and be out for the season. So you just never know.
Right.
But in theory, you would think there's going to mean for a fresher Cordarrelle Patterson and also a Falcons team that should be able to once again this year dominate on the ground. For those of you who are not familiar with the Falcons, they had a top 5 rushing offense, averaging just a tick under 154 yards a game on the
Wow.
ground.
Yeah. That is amazing.
So look forward to do more. Well, look,
Yeah.
Lady E, I know you got some great stuff going on as we get ready to wrap up the broadcast. How can people kind of, well, you tell them what you got cooking back at the
Well,
station.
well, of course, tune in tomorrow on the legendary WIGO Pace Setter 1570. I always do a show, and it's called The History, the Song, the Artist. I've been wanting to do a show that relates to the history of how these artists became famous. So, right now, I'm telling the story of the life story of the amazing Faith Evans, who became the first lady of hip hop at Bad Boy Records. She worked a lot with Sean Puffy Combs. So the story is amazing. So tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Get your coffee, get whatever you need, and just relax and listen to Lady E right here on the legendary WIGO. I'm going to be featuring a manager that actually managed her and Biggie Smalls at the same time. I've never heard that before at the same record company. So his name was Mark Pitts, and he's still a manager. Actually, I believe he's executive vice president for RCA Records now. So be sure and tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of hip hop, unbelievably, because we always associate hip hop with youth. Hip hop officially turned 50.
Isn't that amazing? And a
50.
lot of people thought it wouldn't make it. And perhaps if they had stayed the same way, doing the same style, that might have been true. But they got creative with it along the years. And then they added some special touches to it by joining gospel, pop. They're all over the place now. So, oh, yeah, they'll be around a little bit more, maybe another 50 or so.
Yep. And unbelievably, many of the legends and founders are now like me, officially senior citizens. Uh, who would have thought? All right. Well, listen, though, lady, we appreciate you. Appreciate all you're doing over there back there at the station. And remember, guys, remember tune in to the legendary WIGO Pace Setter 1570 on Sundays, 5 p.m. to check out Lady E and talking about, speaking of hip hop, one of the hip hop legends and R&B legends to some degree too, Faith Evans, and talking about the many things that she went through along her career. Remember, guys, if you want to find out more about us and stay in contact with us, matter of fact, we're going to ask you to do so. Please follow us anywhere on social media, if you would, please, at Real Talk Sports, the number 7. You also can, let me get it up here real crispy here for you before we go. Anywhere on social media, Real Talk Sports 7. That means on IG, that means on, I guess it's called X now. It's no longer Twitter. I don't know what
Right.
crazy man done over there. But yeah, you can follow us there. We'll Talk Sports 7. Also, we are on Twitch as well. And we're also, of course, on Facebook. And remember, if you have a compelling sports story, check us out. Send us your information, Simmons at realtalksports.net, or simply call or text me 678-410-9833. All right, lady, again, we appreciate you for joining us as you do each and every week. And remember, guys, I like to do it. I like to sign off with just a quick question for you, or a reminder. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, please, man, please, sir, get to know him today. Nobody, but nobody loves you like Jesus. And he did something phenomenal. First of all, he died for your sins. But number two, he rose from the dead. And because of that, if you believe in him and repent of your sins, two wonderful things happen. Number one, you become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And number two, you become an adopted child of God with all the rights therein. That means you now can go to God like a heavenly parent, ask him for anything that you need or desire, and according to his will, he'll give it to you. And when you die, you go to that wonderful place called heaven, where it is just blue skies and sunny all the time. You never get old, you never die, no bad people around, and you get a chance to see God. Matter of fact, you're with him all the time, face to face, Jesus Christ, face to face, all the people of love right there, up close and personal. And you avoid that nasty place called hell, where all the things that are in heaven won't be in hell. So it's dark, it's dreary, it's terrible, bad people all around, painful, and you're cut off from God, Jesus Christ, and all the people of love forever and a day. I don't know about you, but I like option number one instead of option number two. All right, everybody, until the next time when we get together again, God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, whichever may apply. And thank you for those of you who watch us on the replay. God bless and so long.